Hello, and in today's video we're going to look at the classic Judge Dredd by Games Workshop, created by Ian Livingstone. And as you can see, this is the original version, very yellow, very sort of camp 80s, but with the seriousness of Dredd. Whereas this new version is slightly more mature, clean design with a little fish promo. As you can see, the big difference is we've got a 2000 AD logo and a Rebellion unplug, and it's all black rather than yellow. And the picture's zoomed in, so I'm going to try and show that to you. It's a bit tricksy to get it in shot, but yeah, the knee pad is the giveaway, so hopefully you saw a bit of that. So here you go, there's the knee pad. As you can see, a lot less of the knee pad visible here. The perps look very similar, but it's got a sort of yellowy brown rather than faded look. Now, I'm not sure how much of that is to do with this copy being 40 years old and faded. And on the back, obviously, we've got the nice cartoony font with the bright yellow and cartoon script, which, you know, was great back in the day, but is not quite as clean and slick as this new version, which does a pretty good job at showing you the contents. And as you can see, we've got standees rather than miniatures, which is a bit of a shame, and a nice little content summary down in the bottom left-hand corner here. We've got some tokens, which are new as far as I can tell. We've also got some judge specialisms, which are new. So I'm going to try and get to this shrink wrap up and have a look and do a little bit of a comparison. And this is a bit of a sort of unboxing, compare and contrast rather than a full-on review. So let's get inside here and have a good look. So what we have is a landscape formatted, not quite A4 I think, rulebook. It's nice and clean, seems fairly well laid out, and it actually does combine the rulebook with the extras. So the Umpty Candy leaflet that was a separate booklet here is, you know, just in the rulebook. So we've got the locations and the various crimes, and then obviously the perps. Now the perps, as far as I can see, are pretty much the same as they were in the original, and I don't think there's anything desperately different here. I would need to check on some of the perps though, just to check if they're slightly different artwork. For example, the Cleghounds, not one that jumps out as being in the original, but as I say, it's 40 years old. Nice little layout of the contents, and obviously the board, which we're going to look at here, and we've got this lovely logo on the back of the board. Look at that, that's a great classic piece of Judge Dredd art. And most of the other bits of the map are plain black, but we do actually have a lovely Judge Dredd logo as well. So you've got head of Judge Dredd, the logo, and then underneath the board we have the cards, but let's try and show you some of this map first. So it's very similar to the old map. The colours are slightly different, and we've got this white divider between the sectors, and yeah, this is much more blatant sort of design. It's quite big, so we will do a cutaway here to try and show you a little bit more of the map. So yeah, as you can see, the bridges and the rivers are, you know, definitely a feature. Can't really cross over easily, and Judge Fish has a slight advantage there. But yeah, the rest of it looks pretty different. For example, the Dream Palace though, definitely much more garish than I remember it. And yeah, there's lots of little subtle tweaks here in this map. But anyway, these are the new bits. Pretty much everything here wasn't in the original version. So I'm a little bit upset they're standees rather than miniatures, but you could buy miniatures and proxy them in. And yeah, these specialties give you little tweaked rules, and obviously the fish is an extra character, which is a bit of a shame it's not in the base box. These cards look pretty much the same as the originals, so you've got the big cards and then the smaller cards that actually go on the map. And yeah, it's a shame they're not bigger, but again, that's just like the original version. You're first, so move it. And yeah, we get 2 nice dice and some standees, and then obviously we need to get the shrink off these and have a look at those, so we'll be doing that a bit later in the video, but they all seem pretty similar to the original, and this card is definitely a little bit thin. Could have done with being twice the thickness. Ironically, the promo does seem to be slightly better quality, and yeah, there you go. It is what it is. So let's have a look at the map side by side and have a look at these cards. So the map, just going to try and line the two maps up so we've got a corner to a corner, because yeah, there you go, slide that down. And up in the top corner here, as you can see, it's maybe up to an inch wider, but it's basically the same height as far as I can tell. So not much has changed there. But the colours, yeah, the old map has a deep blue with a light blue sea. The logo's still nice and red. And as you can see here with the power station, you've got this rather modern looking power button, whereas it's unmarked on the original. And we've got a blue versus a yellow building. And then similarly with the Academy, slightly different graphic design. Very, very similar though. You know, Reese, again, a reddish original with blue windows, whereas all blue in the original. Now, I do think I like the sectors on the new map with this white line here much nicer than the just plain black line, for being able to see the sectors clearly. But yeah, I think I do prefer the slightly more cartoony 4-colour look of the original. But yeah, I mean, it's a really fitting tribute to the classic, so I'm not too upset about it. But yeah, the Alien Zoo, sort of interesting contrast there. Very, very similar. I think maybe the new version is slightly better. But yeah, it's a very interesting update. Takes up a teeny bit more table space, but not a huge amount. And yeah, the original was so good, I think they're going to be hard pressed to make a big difference. I do think the new version doesn't fold quite as flat as the old version, but give it time, it will do it. And of course, it's a shame we've lost this classic bit of artwork and the separate booklet. Lost the minis, although, you know, maybe we've got slightly better quality dice. And the cards are pretty much the same. So as you can see here, we've got the top card option, then the or option, and that does seem to be pretty much the same in the new version. So let's get those open so we can see what's different. Now, these are the small cards. So we've got the first player marker, so yellow on the back with your first, move it. Then we've got these cards, which the original were just a colour, but these ones on the flip side, you've got the various specialisms, so you can play with or without that, I guess. The crimes obviously go from 1 to 6. I can't remember. Let's find out. And yeah, these are all very, very similar. And I don't remember necessarily all the murders and all the differences, but yeah, the claws and the drowned sort of in the swimming pool icon are classic bits of imagery that I definitely remember being from the original. I'm pretty sure they're pretty much unchanged. These location cards are obviously slightly different. They could have been big cards because they don't go on the map. And I do think they've done a good job here of separating the element from the background map. And I'm surprised they didn't go with this actually on the map itself. I actually, in some ways, prefer the art on the card to the board. Then all the criminals. These are all pretty much the same, with obviously Judge Dredd, who, as we all know, was always littering, it seemed, whenever you went to go and see who was littering. So yeah, they are pretty much the same, very, very little different. Now this is where the bigger difference is. So for example, I don't remember these alien cards and the body harvesting necessarily being the same in the original. And yeah, we then got various cards split out. So we got the red options. I remember good old Therap there, licking the old rock in half. Then obviously you've got the green and the blue cards, and that is slightly different, but they do look very similar to the original cards, just with a slightly different maybe graphic layout. So they're the ones I'm going to need to check. I'm pretty sure, as I say, these others are pretty much identical. So you could even use these with the original game, no trouble, and vice versa. So yeah, really, really good to see that there's minimal changes here, and that's pretty good. So as I said, this is where the big changes in the game are, and these specialties I think are going to add a nice little mix to the gameplay. Totally optional as far as I can see, but I do need to have a good read of the rulebook to be 100% certain of that. And yeah, the rulebook itself, I think in some ways is better. You don't have the two booklets, but yeah, it was quite nice that you could have the rules booklet and pass around the separate booklet with the card details in. And yeah, you can sleeve up these sort of poker-sized cards. The little cards a little bit more of a pain to deal with. So overall, pretty happy. Need to get this back to the table. Need to work out who to play it with and to revisit my childhood. As I say, this is a 40-year-old game design, so it's not going to blow your brains away with unique, innovative, modern, slick sort of way of doing things. But it's definitely a really good sort of beer and pretzels fun game for people who are fans of Judge Dredd in 2000 AD. And it's great that current people can get hold of this, because it was starting to go up in price. And yeah, the standees are a bit of a worry. I would be tempted maybe to buy some miniatures from Warlord or something like that and use them instead. So that's maybe a project to look into. But overall, very pleased with what they've done. Little bit of a light touch. It's nice that they've put Ian Livingstone's Judge Dredd on the cover, so acknowledging the person who created the original game. And I have very fond memories of this. As I say, it's not the best game ever, but it's good, light-hearted fun. And after all, isn't that what's gaming all about? Anyway, until the next video, happy gaming.